Welcome back. I'm still with Tim Montgomery, former Tory guru for 30-odd years, who recently defected, I don't really like that word, switched parties, went to Reform UK because I think he felt it was more spiritually his home. And good for him for that. Me too.
But a bit like talk.
Yeah,
I feel spiritually at home here.
This very much is our spiritual home.
Our church.
It's a forum for moronic debate. No, for intellectual debate.
Yeah,
so I got that wrong. First of all, I want to talk in a moment about a really egregious case of a guy who should have been deported a long time ago. But as a bedrock to that, foundation stone for that discussion, this could be quite good. A report now that the UK population could reach 72.5 million by mid-2032 because of net migration. That's legal migration. Many people believe there's probably 10 million more than that in the country right now. The official figures are around about 68.5, 69, going up to 72.5 million. And still they come. They're still letting hundreds of thousands of people in legally, not to mention illegally. Who's going to tell the government that this country is full?
Well, two things in response to this. I think what they used to do is they used to do things like they used to measure things like toilet flushes. Do you remember this?
Oh yes, yeah.
So they actually, the number of times that we have, without getting into too many details, but the average times the toilet flushes in a certain area gives an indication of actually how many people do live there. Yeah. And they've stopped collecting data like that because they want to disguise the fact that illegal immigration is out of control. So first of all, we don't know the true number, and they're not even making any efforts anymore, the authorities, to tell us because they're frightened to think about what they would find. Second thing is, there was a poll, you probably saw it in the Times yesterday, Kev, that said that young people are now increasingly open to a dictatorship.
Yeah, I saw they don't like democracy.
They don't like democracy anymore. And do you know why they might not like democracy?
Yeah, because of the Labour government.
They're not getting democracy. Because even if some listeners to this might not agree with controlling immigration, but again and again and again, all parties have promised to control immigration and they've all failed to do it. Now, if that happens on what has probably been the #1 issue over the last 10 years, where politicians just go in a completely different direction from the public, it's not surprising people are giving up on democracy. So the issue for me about controlling immigration isn't just about the substance of the issue, which is huge. Our country is being changed in ways we've never consented to. But actually, I think it's imperiling democracy. When young people are willing to say they'd rather have a dictator than the freedom that we all, I think, should value at the ballot box, that should be ringing alarm bells in Westminster. And the failure of the British government, of the British Parliament, to deliver on promises that it's made isn't just bad politics, it's actually bad for our fundamental faith in how we operate as supposedly the mother of all parliaments.
Absolutely. This is the Office of National Statistics, which you can take as a very believable source. They say the UK will grow by 7.3% in terms of its population in the decade up to 2032. In other words, the legal migration that your party, Reform UK, say they will stop on day one. They have a very attractive policy called net zero on migration. So they'll stop it on day one. But it is going to continue. It's going to continue. And I do believe I'm right in saying this was one of the main reasons you quit the Tories, because they deceived the British public for 14 long years of lies when they said, oh, we're sorting out immigration, we're going to make our borders sovereign and seal them, meanwhile letting in more than 1 million migrants every year.
And we don't know whether it is 1 million or it's 2 million, to be honest. We do not count people coming in and leaving the country. Nearly all of this stuff that we've been talking about from the National Statistics Office is surveys. It's not actual proper border control. And the fact is, we're an island. We're one of the few countries in Europe that could actually monitor this properly, but we don't. And so you say the official estimate is that population is going to rise by 7.2%. I think it could be a lot more than that, actually.
Exactly right, and I suspect we always talk about the illegal migration problem as if every single illegal migrant who comes to our shores gets caught or ends up in a hotel and ends up in the system. Well, many of them don't. Many of them don't, and they don't all come across in small boats. So many people suspect predict that officially our population is about 68.5, 69 million now, but it could be 10 million more than that.
Yeah.
This country is full, creaking at the seams. I want you to consider this, Tim.
Oh,
I want your thoughts.
You've been waving your pen at me. This is serious.
Listen to this. This is the case of a rapist from Gambia. He was sent to jail in 2015 for 6 years for tricking a drunk woman back to his flat in Watford and attacking her and raping her. His name is Ebu Jessa. He's 41 years old. Since then, he's fought a long campaign to stay in this country and has successfully warded off deportation attempts by the Home Office 6 times. 6 times. Now, get this. After his last asylum bid was rejected, he stated he would return to Gambia, but he didn't. He was arrested again for breaking the terms of his prison release, and he was put into a place called the Colnbrook Immigration Removal Centre. That's very near Heathrow Airport, specifically for people who are going to be deported. Now, he took this case to the High Court, where a judge ruled that that was very unfair. That was against his rights because there was no real prospect of deporting him, and therefore he shouldn't have been in a immigration removal centre. And therefore, this judge awarded this rapist, who has got no right to be here, substantial compensation. It's just beggars belief, doesn't it?
This country, when you hear stories like that, it's like a joke. Well, it's not a joke, of course. It's a sick.
It's a sick
very
joke,
expensive joke. But underlying this, I think, I've just been very hard about our politicians and the lack of democracy. But, we won't fix this country until we sort out the legal mess. Because even when a politician wants to do something, there seems to be a whole thicket of laws and judges who will frustrate what they're doing. And one of the big advantages Trump have, and he may not have planned this, but he got the Supreme Court reformed in his first term. So now there is a small C Conservative majority in the Supreme Court in the USA, which means the deportations that are taking place at the moment, probably if they're appealed to the ultimate court in America, they will stand.
Yes.
The problem is, if reform come in next time with the kind of agenda that you've just described, will the lawyers allow a democratically elected government to do what the British people have voted for them to do? And I leave that question hanging because I don't know the answer, but a truly reforming government won't just have to have a set of policies, they will have to change the whole way Britain is governed.
Yeah, let's recap on that, though. I totally agree, Tim. A High Court judge has taken this guy, Ebu Jessa, did 6 years inside for rape. It was a horrible rape, by the way. And by the way, he was arrested once before for sexual assault. So he's not exactly the most attractive person you've ever come across. 6 years in jail, comes out, has successfully warded off attempts by the Home Office to deport him 6 times. And on the last time, because he was put into this deportation centre, a High Court judge, decides that we, the taxpayers, should give this guy we don't know the figures, but it's substantial. That means it'll be in 6 figures. It'll be more than £100,000, probably, knowing our lot, £500,000. What the hell is going through that judge's head?
Well, it keeps him in business, doesn't it? So there's obviously that offence of how much money he's getting, but I bet one thing that's much more expensive is how much has the British taxpayer spent on those 6 appeals? How much has this process cost us as well? And so those pensioners listening at the moment who aren't getting their winter fuel allowance, that's the kind of thing that the government is spending the money they're saving on that sort of thing. And no wonder people get angry.
Yeah, exactly right. I did a story last night, talked to Richard Tice from Reform UK about it. A family of 4 Indians arrived here and pretended that they were Afghani refugees escaping war and torture, and were therefore allowed to stay. Then they were it was discovered, they'd been here about a year, 13 months, then it was discovered they were lying. So they were told, well, you're going to get deported. But first of all, we're going to have to put you on trial for lying about where you're from. So they've been here ever since, and they continue to be here. Their accommodation costs to this government, or to us, so far have been £386,000, and their legal bills so far, legal aid of course, 170,000. This country is barking mad, isn't it?
Imagine if we were transported back to the 1970s, Kev, and wrote this as a drama proposal. People wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't commission it. They'd say, this is unrealistic. What fiction are you writing here?
Yeah, they would put science fiction out of business, wouldn't it? Unbelievable. Tim, fantastic to have you here on a Tuesday. Hope you'll be back next Tuesday.
I definitely will be.
That is Tim Montgomery. As I say, he's going to be a regular, and I couldn't be more pleased.